Join me as we investigate Sonnet 8 and uncover the Bassano's silkworm, the musical harmony of creation, and how Emilia Bassano weaved her Jewish Kabbalistic beliefs and family history throughout the sonnets. Now, I know a lot of my viewers have been waiting for this sonnet, and it's quite complex. However, I'll attempt to do the Bassano family justice. Welcome to this lecture. I'm Peter Matthews. Today, my guest in original pronunciation, or OP, is again Luke Amadeus Ranieri, a Latin and Greek scholar who has used the research of David and Ben Crystal, and I'll play that for you now.
Music, dear. Why hear'st thou music sadly? Sweets with sweets war not. Joy delights in joy. Why lovest thou that which thou receivest not gladly? Or else receives with pleasure thine annoy? If the true concord of well-tuned sounds by unions married do offend thee ne'er, they do but sweetly chide thee, who confounds in singleness the parts that thou shouldst bear. Mark, one string, sweet husband to another, strikes each and each by mutual ordering, resembling sire and child and happy mother, who all in own, when pleasing note, do sing, whose speechless song, being many, seem unknown, sings this to thee. Thou single wilt prove known.
As I've mentioned in previous sonnets, Hebrew gematria sets the tone of the sonnet. Hebrew gematria, in this case for Sonnet 8, is the numeral 8 and is the Hebrew letter Chet, the eighth sephira of Hod, which gives the impression of splendor, the glory of God, prayer, and our connection. It produces the sound to forth in prayer and in music to touch the very throne of God, the fine curtain or veil in the Holy of Holies, protected by the angels Willon, Camuel, and the fallen watcher Sadriel, who commands over 12,000 angels singing unto the Lord. For it is written, the heavens proclaim the glory of God. Psalm 19:1. That gives us an indication of what this sonnet's about. In Sonnet 7, which we continue on from Sonnet 7, we discussed how the Blessed Holy One gathers the letters, the Hebrew letters, Aleph, Aleph, Bet, Bet, along with Tav, Yod, Shin, and Resh to form Bereshit, or in the beginning, which is the wisdom upon which the world stands. This is the key by which one enters the hidden mysteries, especially musical invocations. In Sonnet 8, we continue our commentary from Zohar 1:3b, where we unlock the spiritual forces and musical harmony of creation with a single key. Yes, a single key, known as Bereshit bara Elohim. What a wonderful imagery. Basically, this key opens a gateway, which we will explore later in the sonnets. As I said, sonnets 1 to 19 give us an overview of what we will deal with throughout the rest of the sonnets. We open Sonnet 8 with the verse, music to hear. Why hearest thou music sadly? Drawing from Zohar 1:3b, where we find Rabbi Here walking in a field with Rabbi Yossi in Galilee, in Israel, discussing the key to the primordial phase that ignited the process of creation. And this key, which I've already discussed, is the mystery of Bereshit bara Elohim, or in the beginning God created, where the infinite gave birth to the finite, just as the seed contains all the stages within it to grow to maturity, from root to fruit, and it completes its journey. The seed of the cosmos contains all of the souls of mankind, all pondered for 2,000 years beforehand. Now, in creating the world, God knew that we could not receive his glorious blazing light. Therefore, he concealed it so as not to overwhelm us. The brightness is likened to the Bassano's imagery of the purple seed of the silkworm, for the worm encases itself within its own silk. After all, the very meaning of the Zohar, which is a primary source of the sonnets, is defined by Daniel Matt as follows. Zohar, meaning radiance, sowing seed for its glory, like the seed of fine purple silk, wrapping itself within, weaving itself a palace, constituting its praise, availing all. See, this is the very same imagery of the husk of Tikkun Olam, or Tikkun Olam, that is weaved right through the Shakespearean works. This is from the first passage of the Zohar called Bereshit A, the brightness of the firmament. Now, I'll put this up in both Hebrew and English so you can see it. I'll read it in English. The brightness that is sowed for its honour is similar to the purple seed of the silkworm, for the worm encased itself within its own silk, and from that seed it prepares for itself a chamber for its own glory and for the benefit of all. With this beginning, the concealed, unknown one created the chamber, and this chamber is called by the name Elohim. Well, what does Elohim mean? It means God, creator, but it means so much more. It refers to judges, rulers, and a number of other things. In the case of Sonnet 8, it refers to the relationship between the Hebrew letters, the vowels, and the modulation or tones of creation that together unlock the spiritual forces and musical harmony of creation, sometimes described as the superstring theory or music of the spheres, as it applies to music and physics, that dates all the way back to ancient Greece with Pythagoras. As I mentioned in Sonnet 5, the Emilia Sequence is a single key in the form of the Hebrew letters that unlock spiritual forces and the musical harmony of creation. It's from Zohar 252a that we'll discuss in detail in Sonnet 65. And I'm going to put that up on here now, on the screen now, and you do not pronounce these, even though a lot of my readers will probably be able to read Hebrew, and you can see the letters, and I won't pronounce them on purpose, but you scan them only with your eyes from right to left, and from 1 going across to 8, and then going all the way down to 9, all the way through from right to left. Now, each letter in Jewish Kabbalah corresponds to numbers and musical notes. Melanie Richards, in her paper on Pythagoras and music, describes it as follows. The musician draws the bow back across the violin string, and immediately the inert atmosphere becomes vibrant and transparent, as if sound from non-spatial realms shines through a window into the world of space. What is being demonstrated is a phenomenon known as the overtone series, in which any tone played or sung activates a column or mathematically related notes which vibrate sympathetically with the sounded pitch and create resonance. Octaves throughout the universe respond in a modern scientific music of the spheres, echoing the hypothesis that dates back to the ancient times. Basically, Pythagoras, working with his 7-stringed lyre, developed an alphanumeric way of measuring the octaves, thereby adding an 8th note, changing the B equation, which I put up on the screen, as cited by Richards, and that's the equation there. Now, Sonnet 8 is written with a standard Shakespearean sonnet form with 14 lines in a metre called iambic pentameter, sectioned into 3 quadrants, and a couplet following the Hebrew rule of Shir Zahav, or golden poems, with the rhyme scheme that I will show on the screen. Now, I've highlighted the last word of each verse so that you can see how this rhyme ends, and it forms a pattern that is formulated as follows. You can see you have A, B, A, B, and then it goes into C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, and then G, G for the last 2. Sadly, joy, gladly. You can see sadly, gladly, joy, annoy. And this is the standard Shakespearean sonnet. So that forms a rhyme pattern of A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, and G, G. So, as Richards admits, it became a new form of proving the existence of God, which is originally found in the Zohar of antiquity. Whilst my expertise lies in philosophy and theology, I will not insult the intelligence of those more learned than I in music. I will merely explain a discussion that I had with Peter Bassano, who's my wife's cousin, a music conductor from London. I think that was back in about 2019. We sort of debated this sonnet and talked about the superstring theory, and I put it to him, and he tended to agree with me on this point, and he directed me to a couple of passages to find some more information. And I basically put it to him, it's like him standing on the stage with his conductor baton, with all the musicians waiting for his command. The brass instrumentalists are there at the ready with their mouthpieces at their lips. The stringed instrument players have their fingers ready at the strings, and the percussion instrument players are ready with their mallets in hand. Then all of a sudden he lifts the baton with the flow, like an element of creation, harmonics from the strings, tones from the trombone, and the rhythm from the timpani, all in harmony to entreat the senses of all of us listening. It goes from chaos to creation, just as it is the case in the Zohar. Through Abraham, the world was created through musical harmony of Hebrew letters, numbers, and musical notes, which we draw from Bereshit A 3:15 tells us, and they who are wise will shine. Speaking of the cantillation or ritual chanting, these are marks, and it is sweet music that brings joy into a world of chaos. This is the true concord of well-tuned sounds the poet was trying to talk to us about in the 5th verse. The secret code is found in the words sweet music that King David sung 3 times a day, connecting it with the verse, sweet with sweets war not, joy delights in joy. Now there's a beautiful secret code that Emilia Bassano left us in Salve Deus. With lovely David you did often sing his holy hymns to heaven's eternal King, and in sweet music did your soul delight to sound his praises morning, noon and night. See here, Emilia's unlocking, connecting us back to the Zohar. She's showing these three times a day, this ritual chanting, and the music was played. You see, this is from Zohar Adash, Midrash Hanilim 6a, that details the songs known as the Songs of Desire. For King David used to recite the songs as the psalmist wrote, I call on the Lord in my distress, and he answers me. Psalm 120 verse 1. Angels, as sons of God in 3 watches during the night, chant songs of desire so that we may enter the path of love and fear of God, as taught by Judah Hanasi. That's Rabbi Judah Hanasi, a member of the Bassano Nasi family, a distant one. The imagery of the eyes come through again in the passage. My eyes stay open through the watches of the night, that I may meditate on your promises. Psalms 119, 148. You see, when we contemplate the majesty of creation and the incredible wisdom of God, we naturally want to praise Yud-He Vav-He. For King David wrote, my soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When can I go and meet with God? Psalms 42:2. He looked forward to it. The angels joined together as a holy retinue in the last watch just before dawn. For height is looking upon height, and there is one higher than they. Ecclesiastes 5:8. But then the poet says, why lovest thou that which thou receivest not gladly, or else receivest with pleasure thine annoy? Now remember, we open the sonnet with the Hebrew letters of creation and musical notes. I'll draw all this together at the end, so bear with me a little moment while I reveal some of the meanings behind these wonderful verses. The latter part of Zohar Adash 6a deals with after midnight, which also deals with the Messianic period that is discussed in the latter part of the sonnets, when judgment is executed and Shekinah is raised from exile. That is the final watch called Elohim. Now it starts to come together, where the 10 watches are divided amongst the 3 watches of the night. The first watch of the angels is called Ishim, which is one of the class of angels I mentioned in a previous sonnet, who begin singing, what are mere mortals that you should think about them, human beings that you should care for them, yet you made them only a little lower than God and crowned them with glory and honor. O Lord, our Lord, your majestic name fills the earth. Psalm 8, 5-6 and 9. They begin to sing when the Israelites complete their prayers at night. Yes, this is about Israel. So don't try and tell me that William Shakespeare wrote it. It's impossible. He wouldn't. It was about the Israelites completing their nightly prayers and they cease at precisely midnight. Talking about the Isham, precisely at midnight when the second watch begins. Now this singing and prayer and worship in the middle of the night was a common theme of the Bassano family. Even in the later family of Bassano family in Derbyshire, they were recorded in the church history notes to have sung psalms invoking three angels and caused a revival in Derbyshire. And I've written a paper on this if anyone is interested in looking at it. It was quite a few years ago. The second watch of angels were called the Malachim, or the kings, the Hashmalim, the living creatures, and the Erelim, the valiant ones, who sing, "Honour the Lord, you heavenly beings, honour the Lord for his glory and strength." Psalm 29:1, beginning at precisely midnight, and when the Blessed Holy One gazes upon the Garden of Eden. This is the place concealed for the Sadiqim, or the righteous in the end of days. And I'll get to that in a minute. This sonnet is dealing with the three watches of praise with music for the King of Kings 3 times a day, the musical harmony of creation. The final watch concludes when morning appears and the heavens proclaim the glory of God, Psalm 19:1. Then we find the morning stars, which we know are the souls before being given a body. Now these morning stars, the souls chant, and he counts the stars and calls them all by name. How great is our Lord. Psalms 147, 4-5. Finally, the angels called Bani Ha-Elohim, meaning the sons of God, in this case the watchers. Now a lot of people try to tell you the watchers died out. No, they haven't. The watchers are not died out, because I'm going to reveal later in the sonnets, there are 2 watchers who were involved with women, and they are chained in the middle of the earth, and they'll be released at the end of days when the time of judgment comes. The rest of the watchers, they're still operating and working and doing their job today. These watchers, they're mentioned in Genesis 6:1-4, and they sing praise to the Lord, you heavenly beings, Bani Elim. Now, that means it's plural for Ha-Elohim. Praise his glory and power. Psalm 29:1. So the watchers take turns, and they praise God as well. The light of God will shine upon them as the sun rises, and healing in its wings. Malachi 4:2. See, this is the theme of the sonnets as we progressed through to what we have known as the Dark Lady sonnets, and then Salve Deuces Cookham, which in essence is a lamentation over sweet Jerusalem. Yes, I finally revealed it. That's what it's really about. It's a lamentation over Jerusalem. This is a future time when the leaders of the world will form an alliance against Israel, and together, in unity, will conspire against Israel. So we know that's not at the moment. But on that day, that is the day when judgment will be executed against them. Because on the day that they rise up against Israel, the Lord will come. And that will be a wonderful but horrific day for those who stand against Israel. The poet wrote, sweets with sweets war not, joy delights in joy. It speaks of the final battle. But also Zohar 1:3, where God was interviewing each of these Hebrew letters with the songs of desire in the mind of Israel. The letter Nun came before God, and he replied, I will not create the world by you, for you imply war. Sweets with sweet, war not. Joy delights in joy. Let's look at the next portion. Then the latter part of the verse, the poet wrote, Why hearest thou music sadly? That's the first verse. Again, this represents the Hebrew letter Kof that descended from his throne of glory, but God rejected her. I will not create the world by you, for you imply Keleia, meaning destruction and sadness, from the Hebrew root word kala, from Isaiah 10:23. Thus the poet was teaching us from the ancient Zohar of Rabbi Shimon, like sweet music to hear the joy of creation. Now I'm going to read those first 5 verses again, now that I've started to unveil what they really mean, so that you can start to see. Music to hear. Why hearest thou music sadly? Sweets with sweets war not. Joy delights in joy. Why lovest thou which thou receivest not gladly, or else receivest with pleasure thine annoy? If the true concord of well-tuned sounds. See, we need to understand that when God interviewed the letter Aleph, God decided to create the world with Bet, and Aleph would be the first of all the letters. Only through you do I become one. See, he used the letter Aleph, but through Bet he created the world. This is the holy union of the upper and lower case letters that God formed the world, Bereshit bara Elohim, to form the upper world and the lower world. The poet describes this union with single notes, the parts, and how one string, sweet husband to another, strikes each in each, upper and lower worlds, by mutual ordering, resembling a child and a happy mother. It is all in unison, one pleasing note, as the conductor wields his baton. I can't do it anyway. Wields his baton unto creation, each pleasing note after another, singing the song of creation. They were all as one from the upper and lower world. Zohar 1:3b. So now I'm going to put that together. Basically what I've done is showed you what the rest of the sonnet means. See, as we go forward, by unions married, talking about the union of those letters, do offend thine ear. Offend thine ear of God. He didn't want to create the world through them. They do but sweetly chide thee, who confounds in singleness the parts that thou shouldest bear. Mark how one string, sweet husband to another, strikes each in each by mutual ordering, resembling sire and child and happy mother, who all in one pleasing note do sing, all in one pleasing note do sing. What's that? Bereshit bara Elohim, whose speechless song being many. This is talking about all of the song of creation, and all of the angels singing the song, seeming as one. Singing this to thee, thou single wilt prove none. Now, to look at the frequencies of creation, there are three foundational letters, or three mothers from the Sefer Yeritza. And these are Aleph, Shin, and Mem, which represent 1, 21, 13, or 121.13 megahertz, the same frequency used by chemists in testing trinuclear molecules. And you were probably wondering, what has that got to do? Well, you see, everything in creation, these frequencies, the musical notes, they all connect to real life circumstances in creation. The 72 names of God. I think I mentioned that in the previous sonnet. Or the 72 angels of God represent Yud, 10, and Yud He, which adds on the He, that's another 5, and then Yud He Vav adds on another 6, and then we have Yud He Vav He, that is a total of 26. Everything in creation has a frequency. Now, if we use these mothers to begin the triangular fashion using prime numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 8, 12, 18, 27, we arrive at the next frequency, the Om tone, that allows the earth to traverse the sun. And it provides our seasons of the world, our 4 seasons, and that is 136.1 hertz. Yeah, most people don't even realize this. Using these prime numbers, therapists still today use the Ohm tuning forks on 34 hertz or 68.05 hertz, 136.1 hertz, which have then we have 272.2 hertz, 544 point, you get it, it's doubling it as we go up, and then 188.8 hertz to reach certain octaves, which they claim brings balance and healing to the body. Now I'll play you a brief clip of the healing music at 136.1 hertz. Now, well, I won't go too much deeper on those sort of things, because if your career is in music and you want to take this one step further, or you want to do something further with me, or do something on your own to take this further, go right ahead. Please do. Rabbi Isaac Luria taught that these vibrations are detected by the ears, the nose, and the eyes, which surprised me. People around the world are plagued by tinnitus, yet Luria taught that this is not a curse, but a blessing to detect the vibrations of creation. Well, I can tell you I have severe tinnitus in my right ear from a hunting accident where a fellow put his gun across that way, and he's across me. I didn't even realise it was happening. Hearing protection off my ear, and perforated my eardrum, and I'm practically deaf in my right ear. And I have severe tinnitus. To be honest, I don't see it as a blessing. But you know, that's what they're teaching. I'm not convinced, but they claim this frequency is either extremely low or extremely high, like 0.01 megahertz or 10,000 hertz. Some claim the 0.01 megahertz offers healing for the entire body, whilst most suggest the lower frequencies have healing remedies: 40 hertz, 174 hertz, 285 hertz, 396 hertz, 400 17 hertz, 432 hertz, 528, 639, 852, and 963 hertz, basically under 1,000 hertz. Now, I know a few of my followers are professional musicians, and you will know this aspect far better than me. The next frequency is waves upon the oceans, where they rise and fall, everything in cycles, where we have the rising of love, energy, and grace from the right side of the tree of life, flowing in 528 hertz, which we mentioned above. Then we have the destructive crashes of the waves, with power from the left side of the clipot, the demonic side, and that is 440 hertz. We have a myriad of frequencies used by angels on ley lines throughout the world, all based upon the prime numbers of creation, 1, 2, 3, 4. A bit like the beat of a drum, for example, the frequency 1, 2, 3, 4 hertz. In a study by Gordon and Heath, they found 1, 2, 3, 4 hertz is the perfect F1 frequency of women for sexual arousal, though men were approximately 10% lower at 1056 hertz. So there's some unusual numbers for you. The prime numbers are derived from 1 being the numeral for Aleph, the first sphere, which we've discussed, 2 Bet. Now, the first is from Kita. The second depicts Chokmah from the Tree of Life, primordial point of creation, Torah, the world to come. Gimel, which I discussed, is Bina, understanding. 3, the Divine Mother. 4, Dalet, which is Hesed, love, and so on. Now, these 4 numbers represent fire, water, air, and earth, the very molecules of creation in its most basic elements. Hence, this is the frequency of a number of main ley lines leading out from the primordial point. Well, what's a primordial point? Well, actually, it's not just Jerusalem. It's actually directly from the foundation stone in Jerusalem, the foundation stone of the Temple of Jerusalem. The frequency 456 hertz resonates the Hebrew letters Dalet, Hey, Vav, referring to the gate of Hashem at the Hebrew year 6000, or up until nightfall, the 16th of September 2240 AD, that will open up to the Sadakim. Yeah, it's going to open. And those 3 letters and that frequency. Until then, it offers healing unto the world. The poet writes, one pleasing note do sing. It's what they're telling us about. These wonderful notes, the musical harmony of creation. One only has to listen to the sacred love concerts of Dic Nobis, or Tell Us Mary, referring to Mary Magdalene, by the famous musician Giovanni Bassano, to understand Sonnet 8. The English conductor Charles Cole stated, Dic Nobis Maria, which is Mary in English, is a tightly constructed piece which revolves around the number 3. There are 3 sections, the first of which has 3 iterations of a rondo refrain introduced at the opening of the upper 3 parts, then joined by the lower 3. Mary Magdalene's 3 iterations of what she saw are combined into the resulting inner episodes. And that's what he's talking about. Now I'm going to put the thing up there and I'll just play a brief clip on it now. The composer, violinist, and organist Giovanni Bassano was the son of Orsetta Bassano and Santo Gritti da Sebenico, the Doge of Venice's grandson. Orsetta was the daughter of Giacomo Bassano and Giulia de Nasi, a Nasi Benevisti princess. Her sister Elena married Antonio Bassano. Giacomo was the eldest son of the famous master Kabbalist, physician, teacher, musician, and maker of diverse musical instruments in Venice, Hieronymus de Bassanus, or in English, Geronimo Bassano, father to all of the 6 Bassano brothers who emigrated to England. Giacomo returned to Venice after his father passed away, and the other 5 brothers stayed in England. We need to understand the Zohar was penned by Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai in the 2nd century. In the Zohar, he wrote of the musical harmony of creation, where God created the earth in 7 days, with 7 dimensions directly influencing creation and our lives. 7 notes to music, 7 colours to the rainbow, 7 days to a week, 7 continents, 7 seas, and all this strikes each in each by mutual ordering, where sweet music is produced by a marriage between sire. Now, what she meant by that is Ian Soft, sire, Elohim, and Blessed Mother, or Celestial Mother, as taught by Emilia Bassano throughout Salve Deus Rex Judaorum and the Sonnets. You see, they're both derived from the very same sources, and Salve Deus contains the codes to unlock the Sonnets. Without her secret codes, we might never have known what the Sonnets really mean. Sonnet 9 will be on the world of chaos without balsam, the emblem of the Bassano's coat of arms, and used in the Jewish temple of Jerusalem. Sonnet 10, coming soon, will be on the repair. The repair the world. Repair should be our chief desire, referring to Tikkun Olam. What a fitting sonnet with Trump now in power. Thanks for watching, and bless you heaps.